So today's video is not directly on the car. Today's video is about how did I start to document the whole dismantling and then bringing back all the parts and pieces to the car. It's not about how I film it. It's more like how do I identify each part I take out, how to write it down, taking pictures. There's plenty of also side notes and videos I took on this topic while I was already working on the car. At the moment, the car is already gone from the garage. More space here. And yeah, I was researching this topic and I actually didn't find too many guidelines or best practices on how to actually take a full car apart, how to remember where the parts go, how to document the status or their current condition on can I keep the part, do I have to refurbish it, do I have to replace it, what actually part number was built into the car. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this and I'm super keen to hear your comments on how you did it, what challenges you faced, and maybe some other best practices for other people to approach this in an even better way. Enjoy.
So first of all, I get some parts, right? I take the parts out, I make sure that I don't lose anything, everything stays together. In this case, it's the clock and also the mounting material for the clock. So I'm collecting everything in boxes. I also have a magnetic one. So if I'm in the car, I grab everything and I'll make sure I'm not losing any screws or washers or whatsoever. And then I've purchased boxes, as cheap as I can get them from IKEA. Also some bags. The bags are over here, different sizes. And what I've done there, then I have printed out the whole parts catalog. That actually is one. So you see how much paper that is. I actually split the whole catalog in three of these folders because I particularly did not want it to print on the back side, not to waste paper, but also to have lots of space for notes. And then every chapter in this parts catalog, if you're not aware of it, has the explosion drawing of all the pieces. And so if we're going here, this is the cover side for all the instruments. And you can see there's all the different instruments are there. It also tells us the timing. It's the construction year 65 to 69. Of course, that's according to the 912. And yeah, I'm finding my part and then I'm marking the part. In this case, I made it green because I can reuse this clock without real modifications. A quick clean, but I will not change the window or so. So I'm not going to restore it. If I'm going to clean the part thoroughly or even restore it, I'll use a yellow. And if I definitely have to replace the part, then I'm using a red one. So later on, I can exactly tell which of these components I have to replace, which of them I can keep and just have to restore, maybe repaint, and which of them I can basically straight use again. So I guess green is not the color I'm using a lot. It's usually yellow or red, but in this case, yeah, they're all functional. I didn't know that when I took them out, so not a big deal. And then I'm finding the part here in the list. This one is number 21. 21 is on the fourth page. There's lots of options as well. So here we can see number 21 actually was there in two different variations. One until 67 and then from 68 on they changed it. Well, we all know the gauges is easy to distinguish because from 68 on they have used very different ones, the more modern version basically. With other parts, it's not that obvious. Sometimes they have used very different washers, screws, whatsoever. So it's really important to take care of that. So if I already find the part number here, I'll mark it. It will be making it easier to find it later on. I'm also writing down in which box I'm putting the stuff. And so later on, if we have to either restore parts or reuse them, I can use the box numbers and I can bring the boxes here as I need them. So yeah, that's how I'm going to document everything. And then of course there will be notes here on these back pages for me to remember stuff more in detail. And yeah, I really hope that kind of Lego set will help me later on to put stuff back together. So yeah, I've also researched how other people are doing it. I did not find too much great guidelines. So maybe if you have other ideas, better ideas that you were applying on your restoration project, I would be super happy to hear about it. And yeah, so we can learn from each other. So the next step, after I found the part, I identified it, I gave it a color to really know, can I reuse it? Do I have to replace it? The next step is I have my little label printer here. And with the label printer, I print out the number, the part number, if I know it. Maybe also a comment, light on the right side, light on the left side, whatever. And then I'm bagging the stuff. So I either use one of these boxes if it's very sensitive parts. They should not be, squeezed or something in the bigger box, or otherwise use these bags. And then I'm putting the sticker on it. So later on, I take out the part. I have a hint on where it belongs. I know which box it came from. And with the part number, I can always search. I have the part catalog also as a PDF, so I can, of course, search for it, find the page where it is, have all my notes from when I took the parts out.
So after I identify the part, I find it on the car. Of course, I also take a ton of pictures. So the pictures have dates, and I'm going to sort them straight when I come home into the category, like was it dismantling the dashboard, was it the drivetrain, was it any of the bodywork, and so on. So I have the dates, I group them by the work I'm doing, so that I have also plenty of pictures to also be ready to identify the parts in the pictures and put them in. In addition to that, I also take a lot of videos, of course, for you guys. But these videos, I have to say, are also very helpful. So I'm really taking care to keep each and every one and to sort them as well when I come home, because it's quite important, and the pictures already help to identify stuff. And yeah, as I said, I took out a few parts and didn't sort them into the bags straight away. I went home and came back 1 week later, and it was already a struggle to identify these parts. So now you've seen how I'm identifying parts, how I put them into bags, I identify the official part numbers. That really helps later on when you go home. You have to research, you have to order some of these parts. All the rubber, for example, I have to completely replace. They all seem to be the original ones, so it's really nice to identify the correct number and then being able to purchase them. The part list and the explosion drawings you've seen, that's a copy of the original parts numbers list from Porsche. And I also do have the original one. I'm going to show it to you now. That is a set I was able to purchase on a classic car exhibition in Germany, in Stuttgart, a few years back. And so these are just my working copies in the garage, and at home I have the original ones. Also, the repair manual, the official one, I was also lucky to get that one. And that's the guidelines on how things were done, how to adjust the suspension and everything, how to set the carburetors, how is the electric system working. So these are also the original documents. I'm not taking them to the garage. They get dirty here. But yeah, enjoy these as well.